Linda here, the Scrapbooking Photographer. Welcome to my channel and thanks for stopping by. Today is Tuesday's Inspiration, and that is a weekly hop run between myself, Mel from Mel W Scrapping, Jen from Kay's Mum Scrapbooking, and Hollie from Ivy Cole Creations. So today's inspiration was my turn, and I went for something simple, black and white. Mainly because going back to 30 days of sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, I submitted a sketch which was day 10, I think, and I had the photos printed way back then to include in day 10, but I never got to do it. So black and white it is, and we'll get that done today. So yes, I'm using this sketch, which was one I created earlier in the year for 30 days of sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. And it has a set of 6 photos in the middle. So I chose to create that in Photoshop, and I had it printed as a bigger photo, and I've trimmed it down because this wasn't an actual shape that you could get printed. I did have a black frame around the outside, but it didn't get printed properly. So I'm going to cut one to put under it. So I'll do that first, and then I was deciding whether to put it on black or white, and I still haven't decided yet. So I'll frame this in black first, and then we'll have a look. Okay, so that looks much better with the black all the way around. Now, regardless of whether I put it on white or black paper, I'm going to use the strips from the Botanical Textures paper, because there's quite a few different black and whites in here, and I sort of like this swirly one, and also maybe a lighter one as well. I don't want anything too busy. That one's a little bit more formal, so we'll just see how they look. We'll have a bit of a play, shall we? So the sketch is on white, so we'll start with that first. We'll put that in there, then in the middle, and perhaps we'll trim a little bit of this off. That gives us the top piece there. And then I might actually use a smaller piece down the bottom. And then one of the darker ones. I think that's a little bit too formal. I might go for, might need to be a bit darker. Maybe black for, if we did it on white, maybe we'd go black under there. That might be what we do there. And that's basically the layout, so it's pretty straightforward really. And then we could add some embellishments. Now I have cut out these flowers from the Impressions A Bloom pack, which show up quite nicely against the grey underneath. Oops, I haven't stuck that bit on yet. And we could do something like that, and then the title in black. So that's how it looks on the white. Let's just see, for the sake of looking, what it looks like on the black. So we'll use the same extra little, the grey one, but I think it would need, I wouldn't use the black at the bottom obviously. I think it's a little dark, isn't it? We probably have to put some vellum underneath to break it up, which you could do. But no, I think I'll stick with the white. An interesting experiment with black and white. Sometimes things look better on black, and sometimes they don't. So we'll bring the white back in, and we'll go with that at the top, this at the bottom, that in the middle, and I'll just cut a strip of the black for the bottom. We don't need that whole bit that we had before. Just needs to come down so that that's got something to go over the top of. There we go. Now we've got room up here for the title, and we've got our flowers I've also got a few other little black and white things here that I thought I might try and use up. This saying in the middle of this piece isn't really relevant, but I quite like the way it looks there. So I was thinking I might cover it with a flower. Maybe I could put one of these on top of it. It looks quite cool. A little bit of layering. And then these ones, maybe I'll put them up the top more against the grey rather than the black underneath. And this little card, I'm not sure where this came from, but I've had it for ages. So that might be a little spot there to put a bit of journaling. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stick all that down and then we'll come back and do the title. So I've got that far with my sticking, and so I'm going to bring in an extra piece here, this doily, and just add it into the bottom there. Add a little bit of frill, not thrill, frill. And so I'm using the tear and tape today from Stampin Up because for some crazy reason I have run out of double-sided tape runner, which is not good. I usually have a couple of different brands on hand, and when I went to look for it today for a refill, I found I have none of anything, which is not good. So this is going to be a little bit harder to pick up, I would say, having been stuck with the tear and tape. It is. Just need to bring it up enough to get this underneath. Here we go, and I'll put a little bit more of this underneath. So that's the downside for using it for this sort of thing, but the upside for using it for anything else. So actually it's pretty well stuck, so that's okay. I'll put this back onto here. I'll have 3 bits in the middle of that. Now I did wonder, I might put a little bit of black just to the side there, just to break it up. So that will help hold it down, and then that on there. Yeah, and we want a little white middle bit. I've got that one. Maybe I'll put that there. And then have a little bit of black in the middle. I think that I'll make one of these in the black for here. Now I did have all of these little white ones which I was going to dot around the outside if I used a black piece of cardstock, but because I've done it on white, I might just go and cut some out in the black to go around the outside there. So I've got the little dot here, and doesn't that make such a difference? Right, so then we've got the title to do, and I've also cut out a couple of these little black flowers, and I thought I might just put them around, and I can do that with a little bit of glue, like so. I could use some of these white ones down on the bottom. So to glue, I use just the fine tip of the glue and put a little bit on where I want it, and then press down with the flower. I find that easier than trying to put it onto the flower, which is so very tiny, and getting it to stick. Just hold it down for a bit so it knows where I want it to be. Oops. And this will dry clear, so we won't see it if there's any that goes around the outside. But I'm just putting a very small amount on, so it should be fine. I'm still unsure what to call this page, so I'm procrastinating a little bit with the title. It was a day that we had at a place called a cyclorama, and I don't even know how to spell it, so I'm not going to make that the title. But it was a really cool circular studio that had white backdrop on one half, and then when you turned around it was all black. So we photographed this young lady against the white, and then we turned around and photographed her on the black. So the companion page will be some photos of her with the black, and perhaps I'll use the black page for that. So I might just call it a model to shoot. I have this also in my stash, which I'm thinking might be quite appropriate. I'll just put a little bit of glue around its extremities, and I thought he might fit quite nicely just under like so. So, title to come. I think the mini alphabet from Stampin' Up will work well size-wise with a model to shoot. So I'll cut an alphabet out in black and see how we go. So as you can see, some letters come out and others don't, but we'll use off here, and I think that gives us an idea of what's going to look good. Tear this off, we'll get a few more. And I can just use my piercer to get out what we need. A model. And I'll need some extra O's when I with the word shoot. So I will go off camera and sort this title out. So as we expected, when I get to the last word, I need 2 extra O's. So rather than cutting out a whole new alphabet, I'm just going to use this little bit here and line that line up with the O's and pop it through again. But before I do that, I need to make sure that all these are out, because otherwise you get the lines and you recut over the top of them. So these will come in handy for another project. So I tend to keep all the letters that I cut out, and then these, that will give me 2 O's. I just need to put a little bit more glue under here. So I've got that all taped down now. The glue's working quite well as an alternative to my tape runner, and I've cut out another camera, so I might just add it under here. So I'll pop a little bit of glue on and get it under before that other glue dries off completely. Looks like I'm about to run out of glue as well, so I have to get myself sorted before the holiday period or I won't be doing anything. There we go. So that gives us the 3 areas of embellishment and a little bit of dusting of little flowers. I need to add a bit of a date here, so I'll go and check the date out and do that. And so the date was the 28th of July 24. I do have some journaling strips left over from Close to My Heart, and I think just one up here where I can put the name of where we went. There are different sizes. So I did try with the thicker ones there, but they're just a bit too thick. So we're going more narrow, and I'm going to make them long enough so that they all go off the edge. And I'll just be careful to cover the bits of sticky that came off when I removed the old ones, which were wider. Let's try for a straight edge. Okay, I'm going to trim off the back. Right, so I'll just complete my journaling on there. Right, so I've just basically said that we went as a camera club to the cyclorama, and this is the white bit, and then when I come over here I'll talk about that being the black bit. So it was quite an interesting place to shoot, different lighting obviously with the white background to what we had in the black, and we dressed the model differently as well and did some different things. So watch out for the next page, which tells us what else we did. So that's my page today for a black and white for Tuesday's inspiration. Hopefully you'll get time to watch what the others have prepared this week, and hopefully you'll get some inspiration and get some crafting time yourself to do your own pages. Happy crafting!